In this world of mysteries, myths, and legends, there are the stories of the Skinwalker. According to Navajo legend, even uttering the name could draw unwanted attention from one. So when the Sherman family moved onto a ranch located southeast of Ballard, Utah, with 512 acres of land, they had no idea how their life was going to change. This is what we know today as Skinwalker Ranch.
Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Bazaar. I'm Jessica.
I'm Montana.
And if you're new here, hello, welcome. We've been waiting for you. One of these days, we're going to get a proper intro to tell the new listeners what we're about. But for now, just as a little quick recap of what we do here, we keep it a chill kind of hangout space, just two friends chatting about whatever topics that we decide to discuss, and we take turns. So one week I will pick the subject and Montana won't know really what it is, so we can really have some good conversations, some good speculation, and then following week vice versa, she picks the subject and I get to speculate. So it's a lot of fun. We cover all kinds of dark and weird stuff. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to subscribe, follow, all of that stuff. We're here every week. We're on all the social medias. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah, welcome.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello. It's me. I was wondering.
After all these years. No. Anyway, so we were on a podcast last week. That was fun.
The Occult Rejects.
Yeah, it was, like I said, a lot of fun. And we used a recording system we've never used before. So we were on, the host is Nick. So Nick just sent us a link. We hooked up on it when there was, a few other people on there. If you want to see us, just go check out his Instagram and YouTube. And it was a long episode. It was like an hour and a half. We did the Jennifer Fairgate. That was probably one of your first episodes.
Yeah, it was. One of my favorite cases, unsolved cases.
And so after the episode was over, I called Jessica immediately and I was like, I'm so sorry I made you do all the talking. I was so nervous because it was, live. And then it paused. And Jessica says, we were live.
I didn't know the entire hour and 40 minutes that we were fucking live. Like, you.
Yes, bitch. You don't see the big red live button at the top.
So oblivious. Also, it was just we were both a little bit nervous because this is a bigger podcast than we've probably ever been on before, right?
And yeah, he's got a big following.
It was a program that I wasn't used to, so once I was in the chat, I just left everything alone. I didn't mess with it. So the screen of all the people that were there was so tiny. So I couldn't see that there was chat rolling. I couldn't see that there was something that said live. And I must have totally missed when he said that we were going to be live because I was completely oblivious. But I'm actually kind of glad because I think I would have been way more nervous had I actually known, but I was such a dingbat. Oh my God.
To be fair, you chit chat in the beginning, kind of say, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, you ready? Everyone ready to go live. And I thought okay, so that just means I'm going to hit record.
That's what I thought.
I'm going to hit record, but also live.
Yeah. So I didn't think anything else of it. I'm like, oh, you just hit record. And then to make matters worse, my dog had the shits and I didn't know what was going on. She was just barking uncontrollably, which is not typically like her. She does every once in a while, but this was middle of the day on a Sunday. And I'm like, what the hell is her problem? So I had to walk away from the episode or from the live twice. And had I known we were live, that would have made me even more mortified than it already did. Like, geez.
Crying.
But aside from that, it went really well, and he seemed to really enjoy our company there and wants to have us back on, so that's pretty cool. And thanks, Nick, again for having us. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the people that he had with him on there. It was Judith, and then Headless Goat, I think?
Ghost, I think?
Headless Ghost?
I was like, I don't remember. But I had trouble logging in because Instagram would not log in on my computer. And so Jessica logged in first, and then she showed up with two other people that we didn't know were going to be there. So she's like, am I in the right place?
Yeah, it's like, I do not recognize these people. I think I logged on the wrong thing.
Montana, where are you?
Yeah. But then Nick started talking, and I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, Montana will be here in just a sec.
Like, hurry up, bitch. And you even made a comment that's when I knew you didn't know we were live, is because you said when the Kira was barking, you're like, you can edit this out later.
Oh, I think I was talking about how I jump around too, like, because I get ahead of myself and I have to find my place again. Like, this editing's gonna suck. No editing.
No, girl, no.
It's out there for the whole world to see, so check it out. You Cult Rejects on YouTube and on Instagram too.
My God, I'm crying because it's so funny. We were live.
Can't take us anywhere, I'm telling you.
Okay. I think that's our update of the week.
Yes. Well, I'm excited for the subject today because I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it, if anything at all, like the bare minimum. So this is all new to me. Very excited.
Okay, trigger warning. I'm going to have to say the word Skinwalker a couple times, but I'm going to try to like abbreviate to just the ranch or SW because I know a lot of people don't like that word being said. And there is a comment I make about why you shouldn't keep saying it. So again, I'll just refer to like SW Ranch or the ranch. And that's obviously from the intro. That's what we're talking about is Skinwalker Ranch. And this is going to be more than one part. So we're going to see how far we get today. I do have a good stopping point today, but it is long. So we'll just see if we get to that point. And a trigger warning again. There's, it only is in this episode. Yeah, we'll say that. There is animal cruelty. So this episode was very hard for me.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you even did it because so sensitive to animal stuff.
Because I know stuff about it and I don't know stuff about it. So I just wanted to do it. And I have to tell myself this was a little bit ago. So it's already been said, but it's still hard for me to read about anything animal. So I don't remember if the cruelty is in this episode, but it's definitely going to be in the second one, but just trigger warning overall. There you go. And I think that's all I got to say about that. So we ready to get into it? And so I don't take credit for any information. I got the majority of my information from a book, Skinwalker Ranch, Facing the Unknown Force That Haunts the Uinta Basin by Conrad Bauer. So he gets most of the credit for this. It's a good book. Check it out. I'll put it in the show notes. Okay. So the myth about skinwalkers is they were originally human beings, specifically medicine man or shamans who achieved superhuman awareness and mastery of their soul, but turned toward the darker side of reality. Like somewhere, basically, they got lost along the way of their spiritual journey. And for some reason, they chose to be evil. And so in order for an SW to obtain his powers, he has to kill someone of his own bloodline. And basically, the unholy power of an SW is their ability to shapeshift in just about any animal, right? So like we mainly recognize them today as dog, wolves, coyotes, creatures that are usually much larger than normal, that can run at incredible speed. And some have witnessed these animals like running on two legs.
Ooh.
There are some cultures too that associate SWs with like Bigfoot and Sasquatch. So they consider those also SWs.
Okay. I mean, kind of makes sense.
And Native Americans have passed around legends about the haunted corner of Utah long before the ranch or like any other permanent settlement existed. And then, so this is where we're kind of going to back up a little bit.
Okay.
A man by the name of Brigham Young, he was a Mormon leader. And so Young, he led his followers west, hence why Utah is a big Mormon population, if you haven't noticed. And now I have not seen Mormon wives, so don't ask.
Me either. Yeah, don't ask.
He wanted them to escape further religious persecution. So he established several Mormon colonies in what was then unsettled American territory. And so one of these colonies was located on what we know as the grounds of SW Ranch. And this was in the early 1860s, before I forget to add the date in there. And so Young, he sent out a survey team to see if the Utah Basin would be good enough a living situation for settlers. And so basically the survey team came in. They said the region was just a waste and more of a hunting ground for the Native Americans. Like, don't waste your time. Leave it alone. But despite what they thought about the Uinta Basin, the Mormon, they eventually did bring the Church of Latter-day Saints there in the 1880s. So even though they were told, don't do it, they did it anyway.
Of course they did.
It's like the white family moving into the haunted house, but we got a good deal. And so the surrounding area, again, the Uinta County, has a population of about 25,000 people. It is still sparsely populated by most standards, and its growth is slow, but the growth is steady. And today, all the miners are pretty much gone, and now cattle ranching has been the main industry since the early 1950s. But also in the 1950s is when the first documented UFO sighting began to take place over the area.
There's a lot going on here.
It's a lot of paranormal. It's all over the place. It's not just one thing. It's just all over the place. It's like one day this happens, the next day that happens, and I couldn't live there. Let's just put it that way.
Ooh, no.
So a science professor at the University of Utah, his name was Junior Hicks, he wanted to figure out what was going on. So he decided to gather evidence of all the paranormal happenings at SW Ranch. And he was actually the first to do this. And his investigation actually inspired a group of students who witnessed what they described as a UFO over SW Ranch in 1951. And so there was about 30 of them. So 30 of them saw this. And they claimed to have seen a cigar-shaped UFO flying over in broad daylight. So it just flew over them in broad daylight.
Cigar-shaped, that's interesting because the NASA videos that were released, they kind of referred to it as like a tic-tac. That seems like kind of the same shape, like the high-speed chase that they had with that unidentified flying object. I don't know when it was, but there were trials on it just a few years back. So they described it that way. That's interesting.
All right, so Tic Tac. I always think of Austin Powers. Have you seen Austin Powers?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, look at that huge, and they keep naming the word for dick, like shaft. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. It's not Weekly Bizarre if you don't add in one perverted joke.
Gotta do it. Did we for our last episode?
Yeah, because remember, yes, we did. Because remember the soap maker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was washing her son, and then we're probably like, you look just like your father.
Got his ball sack. Terrible.
If you know, you know. All right, moving on from ball sack. So with Hicks going down the rabbit hole with his investigation, he uncovered hundreds of firsthand accounts of UFOs and other strange phenomena occurring at or around the ranch. And he figured out that all of these stories shared one common feature, the SW. And he wanted to talk to Native American tribes about these alleged paranormal entities. So again, he was one of the first outsiders to do this.
Boy, I bet they have a lot to say.
Or a lot they don't say. The tribal members that Hicks spoke to referred to the whole region as the, quote, path of the Skinwalker. And they refuse to go anywhere near it because they're smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like any native tribes or things like that that have a deeper connection to the land and the sky, they just have a greater respect for those kind of things that typically means just let it be. Leave it alone.
Curiosity killed the cat, right?
That is right.
So Hicks wanted to do something with his findings. So he published a book in 1974 called The Utah UFO Display. This was the first book that directly linked skinwalkers to UFO phenomenon. So even though Hicks talked about SW Ranch in his book, it still didn't gain attention until the 1990s, and that's when the Sherman family bought the ranch. And the Shermans are probably the most famous residents of the ranch, but they acquired the ranch after the original owners, Kenneth John Myers and Edith Child Myers. And so Kenneth and Edith, they bought the ranch all the way back in 1933. So as their land was 160 acres throughout the years, the Myers extended it to 480 acres.
And they had cattle.
I don't know. I would assume so. It's a ranch, so I'm sure they had horses, cattle, all the above.
Yeah.
And they never had any children. because they basically devoted their lives into working this land. Even after Kenneth passed away in 1987, Edith stayed on at the ranch by herself until her own death a few years later, and that was on March 3rd in 1994. And so Kenneth's younger brother, Garth Myers, he inherited the property, but he wanted to sell it. And so that's how we get back to the Sherman family, because Garth sold it to Terry and Gwen. So I'm going to guess not much is known maybe about when Kenneth and Edith owned the ranch. So it wasn't really talked about. So we're just focusing mainly on the Sherman family.
And what year did they buy it?
It doesn't say. I didn't write it down. But it had to be after 1994. So I'm going to guess probably the mid to late 90s is when the Sherman family bought it. Best era. Okay.
Best era ever.
So like I said, it's just really interesting. We don't know a lot about the ranch until the Sherman family moved in. But when the Sherman family moved in, they did find locks and deadbolts all around the ranch house. Like there were locks on both the insides and outsides of the doors, windows, and even the closets.
Suspicious.
Creepy. And it didn't take long for the Shermans to realize they're not exactly alone on this ranch. So Terry Sherman was working in one of the fields surrounding the ranch house when he saw movement at the corner of his eye. So when he turned to see what it was, he described it as some kind of large dog-like creature in the distance. And it was actually walking in his direction. And immediately he was like, okay, it's process of elimination to figure out what this thing could be. Like, is it a dog? Is it a coyote? Maybe it's a wolf.
It was Harry.
We know it was Harry.
He left the Hendersons. He's trying to find a new family.
Love that movie. Harry.
I had a Harry. I had a little stuffed Harry. No, I didn't. That was Alf.
Don't confuse the two. Okay, yeah. One is Bigfoot, one is an alien. Maybe it's Alf.
With a snout, too. Didn't Alf have like a longer snout?
Yeah, and he could talk. Did Harry talk?
I think so. Maybe kind of, oh my God, I need to watch it again. I don't know if he did or not. Or did he just like make grunt sounds and stuff? I don't know.
I can't remember. I love John Lithgow.
Yes.
I love him. He's such a fantastic actor. Like, he can play serious. He can play funny. I love The Rock from the Sun. I love him.
Yeah, he's great. So it was Harry. It wasn't Harry. Who knows?
Could be. I think it's a little too mean to be Harry. Harry was nice.
Harry was sweet.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, you know. Like, who the hell are you talking about?
That's how old we are. We're just aging ourselves.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, back from the side quest. So he's like, yeah, it's a dog, coyote, a wolf. I don't know. But as it comes closer, Terry was like, okay, never mind. Let's just go ahead and discard such easy explanations for this thing. Because whatever this creature was, it was bigger than any natural-born canine.
It was Harry.
At least it was on 4 legs. Harry's on 2.
Was still on 4 legs. Okay.
Yeah. And so before he even realized what's happening, because he's contemplating this information in his head, the creature-like thing, whatever, has already walked right out in front of Terry. So he's up to Terry now.
Walked right up to him.
Yeah. No. Terry, like the smartest man in the world that he is, he reached out and petted it. Because
not expecting you to say that. Did he get his hand bitten off?
He petted it because he said the animal seemed peaceful.
It makes me wonder, was this the first time that it got that close to a human? Like maybe it was curious or something.
I don't know, but shortly after Terry, petted this creature-like animal, it ran away from him and decided to run toward the pen where the Shermans kept their cattle.
Oh, no.
Again, before Terry could understand what was going on, because Terry needs a couple minutes to keep catching up.
Terry and Harry. No, get it together, Terry. Come on.
Yes, because he's like, what? Before he realizes what the fuck is going on, the creature, it stuck its snout through the bars of the cattle pen, and he clamped his jaws on the head of the calf that was closest to it. And so, its teeth is in the calf, and so this creature is just attempting to pull the calf through the bars.
Thing.
And then Terry, finally snapping out of what he's seeing, he runs over and tries to help his calf. And he's punching the creature in the rib cage. Nothing.
Wow. A for effort, though. Seriously.
I mean, I'd do the same thing. I'd protect my animals.
I'd be grabbing some, like a baseball bat or a rake or something and start wailing.
So then he goes and he gets a baseball bat. And again, he just keeps hitting this creature. He's hitting this creature in the head with the baseball bat. Nothing.
Wow.
This creature is totally unaffected of what's going on.
So it's not even really acknowledging him. It's just continuing to try to get the calf. It's not fighting back or anything. That's creepy.
It's like it doesn't even know it's being hit.
Ew.
So this isn't working. So Terry yells at his son, Tad, to go get his Magnum, and his Magnum that he keeps in his pickup truck. And so now he's taking direct shots at this creature. Nothing. It doesn't even acknowledge it's being shot.
So it has some kind of shielding?
Well, what's even more creepy is that Terry noticed that there's no evidence of the bullet wounds or even blood.
Did he find the bullets?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't think so.
Ooh, that sounds like interdimensional shit.
Yeah, so it took about the fourth shot that the creature let go of the calf, but mainly because it was annoyed, not because it was hurt. It was just like, all right, whatever. I'm done with this.
It's really strange because on one hand, it sounds like super intelligent because of the fact that it's not bothered by him annoying it. But then on the other hand, you would think it would have figured out a different way to get the calf. That's really weird. Just an observation.
Okay. So Terry is only a few feet away, facing the creature. They're making eye contact with each other. He lifts his gun up. He aims his gun at the creature's chest. He shoots it. The creature responds by turning around and slowly walks away like it doesn't give a fuck.
Wow.
And so Terry is thinking, I can't just let this thing walk away. My livestock is at stake, and I know it's going to try again. So Terry yells at his son to go get his shotgun this time. So Terry takes his shotgun, shoots the creature in the shoulder. The creature, again, hardly reacts. It pauses for a second. Like, are you seriously still doing this? Like, just give up. Terry shoots it again in the chest. And this time, Terry could clearly see blood that was spraying out from the open wound. But the creature was like, meh, it didn't show itself any pain whatsoever. So it slowly just kept going its course, just kept keeping on, and it basically walked toward a patch of trees. And Terry's like, I'm desperate here. How do I stop this creature? So he takes his son, and the two of them follow this creature into the woods, but they lose sight of it as it entered the trees. So what they do is they follow the fresh tracks that were in the mud. And they followed them right up until the trail suddenly reached a dead end in the middle of the forest. So there's no explanation whatsoever why the tracks simply stopped. It's like the creature just disappeared.
Weird. It's weird that it was actually getting hit, but not at first. It's like it almost reminds me of a video game. Like if in an alien video game, a lot of times they have like bionic shields or whatever, and you have to shoot them so many times before the shield barrier breaks and then you can hit them. That's what it reminds me of. Something like that.
Or you get so many hits before you die.
Yeah, reapy.
I don't know. If that was my son, I'd be like, I'll wait here. You go in there. So after this night, the Sherman family tried their best to put this unsettling encounter with the creature behind them. And they actually gained some hope when they learned from longtime local residents that unusually big wolves aren't that uncommon in the area. So Terry was like, okay, well, maybe I didn't hit any vital organs, and that's why it wasn't affected by my gunshots.
But didn't he say that he didn't see any blood at first in the barn?
Mm-hmm. I think he's just trying to rationalize, trying to make it make sense. But the creature showed up again. Same one, because this time it followed Gwen Sherman's car as she drove up to the ranch house. And it was moving so fast, it was actually keeping up with the car before finally going on its way. And then Gwen was like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on. Isn't this the same exact creature that my husband, Terry, reported? So she's like, enough is enough. I'm going to do something about it. Because it's always the woman, right? She's going to complain about this intruding animal. So she's like, Terry can let it go. I can't let it go. Enough's enough. We got to protect our cattle. I'm going to go complain about this animal. So Gwen, she goes down to the Office of Tribal Affairs and was like, look, this is what happened to my husband. This is what happened to me. And she refers to it as a bulletproof wolf. That's what she calls it.
She's not wrong. Completely.
And the tribal officials are like, look, lady, Despite what you have heard from your neighbors, there has not been a wolf in the region for many decades. They've been wiped out in 1929. So they basically just sidestepped the whole wolf thing's unnatural speed and the gunshots. And they even insisted it was impossible for the Shermans to have seen a wolf at all. They're like, it was probably like a stray dog, a coyote instead. You're mistaken.
Wow.
So Gwen goes home. She pissed.
I would be too.
She's like
Furious.
confused. Yeah, she's scared. And then so she's like, okay, maybe like I'm not thinking straight. Maybe I didn't really see what I think I saw. Maybe I didn't think. She's thinking like, what did I see? Is my mind playing tricks on me? Did I not really see that? But if that was the case, how would Terry be able to see the same thing I saw?
Right.
But now it gets weirder. So one night, Terry, his son, and his nephew, they were out surveying the property, and this was right around sunset, which means the skies begin to darken around them. And that's when Terry noticed what looked like the headlights of a parked RV in the distance. And it's actually very common for an RV to park on someone else's ranch. But of course, Terry was like, not today, Satan. I'm having no trespassers on my property. I don't blame him. I don't like when people walk in my yard. I'm old, crotchety woman.
You know how I am about the kids in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Tony was in the kitchen and he's like, I'm like, what? He's like, I'm not going to tell you for your own good. I'm like, just tell me. He's like, I heard a kid on the loose. Hell no, not on my watch.
I mean, I'd be the same way. His ranch is like 500 acres. And if I have 500 acres and one person sets foot on like 1 foot of my 500 acres, but get out.
We would never sleep. We'd be like constantly patrolling to make sure nobody was on our land.
This is my property. We'll take shifts. All right, Jessica, your turn.
This is why the castle needs to have a moat, like filled with gators,
Alligators, yep.
piranha, and all that shit.
I mean, 500 acres is a lot. They could have built a castle and had their own boat.
We could have had a little village.
Yeah, so like I feel Terry, he's just like, no, not today, Satan. Get off my land. Whatever. So he tells his son and nephew to follow him as he walked in the direction of the lights. But almost as soon as they begin heading in the RV's direction, it began to back away from them. Terry's like, okay, that's weird. Maybe the trespassers had a pair of binoculars or like night vision goggles trained on them and they're watching our every movement, which in itself is creepy. But then, like me, this pisses him off even more. He's like, okay, boys, we need to run. So the three of them start running toward this RV. But as they got closer, the vehicle's headlights lifted off the ground, then landed a few feet away. And so Terry's like, UTF, what is happening? And he's like, okay, let's rationalize again. Did the RV hit a piece of uneven terrain that made it jolt up in the air? No, Terry.
Terry, come on. Come on, Terry. But I get it, though. I mean, in the moment, especially if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily even think about things like that, like you and I, that'd be the first thing we were thinking, at least.
UFO.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of get it to where his brain is just trying to figure out what the hell he's seeing. I get it. But come on, Terry.
I just want to make fun of Terry, even though there's no reason to. It's just, there's got to be that one person in the story you got to pick on.
Yes. We always give somebody a hard time.
So he realizes that the vehicle was now approaching a grove of olive trees lined with a barbed wire fence. So he's thinking, okay, so this means we have the RV cornered. It can't go anywhere with the trees right there. And now's my chance to confront these trespassers. So then he breaks into a full sprint. But the supposed RV was moving. It wasn't making any sound, so there was no engine noise, no sound of tires rolling across the ground, nothing. And what was supposed to be a dead end with the trees right there, Harry and the boys watched the RV lift off the ground and silently hovered for a moment before flying right over the top of the trees.
Ooh.
And so now they were able to make out the object more clearly, and they said it looked like an oversized refrigerator with one light shining in front and a red beacon shining in the back.
I've never heard that description before.
That Terry's nephew was so scared, he never returned to the ranch again.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't either, honestly.
And the object returned a few weeks later.
The refrigerator.
Can you imagine if just like a jackass stunt gone wrong and like the refrigerator's like, just flying over?
Somebody's in it.
Like a porta potty when they do those stunts.
Oh, God. Disgusting.
Okay. So yeah, the object returned a few weeks later. And then this time, Terry was walking with his wife, Gwen, when they suddenly heard a loud metallic scraping sound. And once again, they saw what appeared to be the headlights. But again, good old Terry is like, okay, maybe someone is lost on our property. Again, we have trespassers. So they begin to walk toward the light. And once again, as they neared the object, it lifted off the ground and flew a few feet further away. And Terry's like, son of a bitch, it's the same object.
So this is like one of the little pods that's probably from the mothership. It's like the little exploration pod that they take down. Something. It sounds very small.
Maybe it was, what did I describe it earlier? The student said it was like a cigar shaped. So maybe it's just described differently as refrigerator shaped. They're not really the same shape, but like, I don't know.
They kind of are. I mean, elongated. Like if you think about it.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably their little pod that they bring down to Earth and they go back to their ship wherever it is.
Like exploring.
Dock. Yeah.
And so after the family's strange encounters with this refrigerator-shaped craft, Terry begins to believe that someone is using their property for test. So he's like contemplating, he's like, maybe my land is being used by some secret black budget program of the United States government to test out exotic new technology. So on another night, Terry was out checking on his cattle and he saw what looked like some sort of variation of the B-2 stealth bomber hovering over the snow just a few yards away. And then I'm going to quote this from the book. Quote, the B-2 bomber had already been declassified and officially introduced to the American public a few years before, but even though Terry had this vague point of reference, linking the craft to something plausible, explainable, and extraterrestrial. Making the intrusion even stranger was the odd stillness that permeated the atmosphere surrounding the craft. There was no sound, no engine noise, nothing, just absolute and uncanny quiet as the vehicle hovered in place. This is not a known characteristic of any extraterrestrial craft. As advanced as the B-2 might be by earthly standards, it makes noise. So it's kind of debunking that, no, it's not this B-2, whatever.
I can't wait till we have that kind of technology. Probably not going to see it in my lifetime, though.
Maybe if you're AI.
Yeah.
And so as it came a little closer, Terry noticed that it was giving off a colorful searchlight from the bottom of it. So the best way to describe it is as if the craft was scanning the ground, searching for something. So he said it looked like disco lights. And Terry said he was craning his neck to watch it, and when he craned his neck cracked. And it's like as soon as the bones in his neck cracked, the craft immediately turned off the lights. Like, oh shit, a human. It's a human. So then the craft slowly backed away and it was gone. And then, of course, happens to Terry is going to happen to Gwen. So the same thing happened to Gwen just a few weeks later. She's driving back to the ranch house and she notices this, quote, black cloud that seemed to be following her. And when she hit the gas pedal to try to get away from it, it like showered her with this same odd, colorful spotlight that Terry had seen, like that disco light. Mm-hmm. And the lights followed her all the way to the driveway. So yeah, when she parks her car, thankfully the craft just kept going. It flies over the house and disappears. And of course, she's scared. So she goes into the house. And this is the same night. And an hour later, she calls Terry because good old Terry, he's out of town for work, like for business. And she notices what looks like an RV on their property. So she's like, hell no. But as she's looking closer at this RV, the inside of it is lit really brightly. So she could clearly see a desk through the vehicle's side window. And then she sees this figure dressed in all black. It pulls up a seat and it sits down at the desk. And this figure was wearing a helmet and some kind of uniform. The figure suddenly stood up and went to the door of the RV. And she's watching him. and she realized that he was unusually tall. She says maybe about 7 feet. And he had a black visor. It was covering most of his face. And he had knee-high boots on his feet.
His disco boots, the disco ball.
Very specific. And then she realizes that the figure is staring at her.
Ugh.
So freaked out. I think it's one of those reactions. So she freaks out, right? And she closes the curtains. So it's probably like, oh, they're staring. And then you close the curtains really fast. So she calls Terry again. And she's like, look, you need to come home as soon as possible. So, but like Terry races back to the ranch. But this RV was long gone when he like finally showed up to the ranch. It was gone.
Ugh, that's terrifying. Ooh, to make eye contact. Oh my God. So that's what nightmares are made from.
And she does make a comment like, oh, maybe he has binoculars and that's why he's staring back at me. But that's pretty descriptive. Like, I don't know how far away. She has really good eyesight. Because I'll be like, where's my glasses?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's good eyesight.
Yeah.
One evening, the Shermans' horses were grazing under a nearby tree when Terry happened to look over at them. He saw what appeared to be a perfectly round glass ball that was floating above the tree, and blue light was coming from its crystalline surface. And so it's about the size of a baseball. And at this point, the light drifted away from the tree and slowly moved down to one of the horses. So I'm almost picturing like a blue orb.
Mm-hmm.
And as the pulsating blue orb hovered around the animal's head, the horse got agitated and it stopped grazing. And this like orb-like object almost seemed to be filming the horse or gathering some sort of data, as it pretty much bathed the horse in the blue light. Some blue liquid bubbled and swirled inside this orb, and Terry could hear a slight crackling noise that was coming off of it, like static electricity. And Gwen sees this too. And she's scared, she's shaking, but she grabs her flashlight and she turns it on. And she tried to shine it on this shining blue ball, but instantly the orb shot off into the trees and it disappeared. And the two of them are like, oh, okay, maybe we should go back inside the house now. It's a little creepy out here.
It's interesting how it just doesn't seem to have any interest in the humans. Like anytime they come around, it's like, I'm out of here.
Well, Terry also made a point that he thinks that they're taunting him. Like whatever it is, it's taunting the family, playing games with them.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems like it's more there for the animals, as we will see in part 2.
Yeah, it's definitely curious about the animals for sure.
Yeah,
and it doesn't seem, at least at this point, it doesn't seem like it wants to cause any harm to the humans.
No, I think he even said maybe like a cat and mouse is what it seems like. And they're freaked out. They go back inside. And like it wasn't even 2 hours later that they noticed the strange blue glow outside of their window.
Well, hell no.
And the same blue ball, orb, whatever you want to call it, it sailed past toward the back of the house. And as it did that, the lights of the house began to dim, like it was affecting the electrical supply.
Interference.
But luckily it left again. So up to this point, all these things that have been happening on the ranch hasn't really caused any physical harm, right? Like the Shermans have been scared, but there wasn't any reason to think that their lives might be in danger. But in April of 1996, what was meant to be a quiet evening of relaxation turned into a night of sheer terror. And that's where I'm stopping.
Ooh, you bitch. That's a great stopping point, though, not gonna lie.
I know. I guess it's a lot. It looks really long, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I didn't know how long we were going to get, but okay. So we went through that pretty quickly. Yeah. So that is part 1 of SW Ranch.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And it all sounds so familiar to me. Like I've heard it all before, just in different stories.
Like this is new to me. And as I mentioned, the Sherman family is pretty much famous with it, and I've never heard of them. But again, I don't watch, there's like 50,000 shows I looked up on SW Ranch.
Yeah.
And a lot of them too are like ghost hunting. I should say paranormal hunting. And I'm like, I don't really like those shows. So I haven't really watched anything. So that's why I'm going off the book.
Well, I can't wait to hear what this horrifying night is. Way to keep us wanting more.
It's so sad.
Oh.
It's so sad. Just be prepared.
Noted.
Yeah, just be prepared. Shit's gonna hit the fan like it hasn't already, but it's sad.
There's definitely an escalation happening. You can definitely see that. And how much time has passed so far? Do you know, like from the time that they moved in till this escalation, this horrible night?
I don't know, but I would say probably the span over months and months.
Okay. So not years.
I don't think it was years. Don't quote me because, like I said, he sold the property to the Shermans in 1994. And this was the night of 1996. So, but I also don't know when the Shermans officially moved. But I couldn't put up with it. Let's just say that. No
way.
Once I saw that creature-like thing, I'm like, put it up for sale. Let's go. Not today. Not today.
No, I may have made it past like the first couple sightings just because maybe I would have tried to rationalize things in my mind. But I think what really would have gotten me is when that thing looked at me. It would have been like, okay, that's a wrap. I'm out. No, thank you. Well, until next week, hopefully everybody's looking forward to part 2. I know I am. Well, thanks everybody for all of your support. It means the world to us, as we always say. We appreciate each and every one of you. You can find us on all the social medias at Weekly Bazaar Podcast. You can email us at weeklybazaarpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/weeklybazaar. We've actually been posting some little behind the scenes chit chats and some blooper reels and little things like that, which we're going to continue to do more and more of as we iron out all the details here. We're just getting better and better every week. Hopefully you guys think so too. So yes, we really appreciate you all. Thank you so much again for joining us for another week. Hopefully we'll see you back next week for part 2. And if it's weird,
we're going to talk about it.
Bye.
Bye.